Yo, what up everybody, it's Tuna. Today's video I wanted to talk about the new mechanic in Torchlight Infinite. That is the City of Aeterna. So the City of Aeterna is a mechanic that is actually quite insane and gives you crazy rewards, and I think it's one of the best they've designed yet. I think it's really fun, really rewarding, and it's also got a progression system that we're going to talk about here a little bit, and all of the important notes that you should look for. Let's get into it. So first of all, you want to travel out to the right, because the right is going to give you additional chance for precious rewards, as you can see here from these nodes. And those nodes are pretty insane. And the scope of this is to run towards these nodes here that you can see that are going to unlock additional rooms. It is very important to unlock additional rooms, as you'll have a 3x3 piece of rooms. And you want to be placing your rooms in a certain way that connects rewards up to them. So you can imagine that the more rooms you have, the more rewards you get per temple, but also it affects the power of the boss and the rewards that the boss itself drops. You want to get as many of those rooms as possible. So as you can see from the screen here, there are the purple nodes, and these purple nodes are going to be what you want to go towards. So as you progress through, you want to go to the right, you want to take the top left and the bottom right. Make sure you path 1 point into each precious reward node, and also make sure you grab one Eterna tile. So these tiles are going to be the tiles that enable you to sort of fix your temple, as you won't be able to actually fill every square in a temple. So you'll have times where essentially you won't have a node that is connected to anything, and these Eterna tiles are going to enable you to sort of bridge that gap between those pieces, so that you can actually still have a playable temple and a playable zone to path between squares and whatnot. Yeah, make sure you grab those as soon as possible, but most of them you don't have to worry about, because they are actually on the way to getting the rooms. There's one at the bottom and there's one at the top. So yeah, make sure you go for those two first. Those will be 100% the best ones to go for. Then you want to go to the left side of the tree, and you're going to want to be getting the additional rooms here as well. However, keep in mind that the top left and the bottom left side of the tree, this is going to be more empowering the in-map mechanic rather than the City of Aeterna mechanic, the final map that you do run. So these nodes are not going to be quite as important as the ones on the right, but as we previously mentioned, the expansion nodes are very important, and those are the first ones you're going to want to path out to. It is extremely important that you get these as soon as possible. Make sure you path to those. The rest of the points, make sure you just put 1 point each into every single one of them, on the way to the expansion rooms, as essentially you won't really need to be putting any more, and there's sort of a cost that accrues, it gets bigger and bigger per point that you put into them. Essentially, you just want to save those for later once you start getting a ton of pages of Eterna. As you can see from these nodes, it's mostly just going to be empowering monsters that are within the mechanic. But if you were to actually put an additional node into anything, it would be this one, because it gives you a 10% chance to spawn one additional Shackles of Eterna. And this is going to be a monster that drops additional rewards, a bunch of pages and that kind of stuff, and it's going to be present within your map. So if you want to put the point into something to empower the mechanic, make sure you put it into this, as it will be the strongest. Next, once you have all of your expansion rooms, you will want to be pathing out to the bottom side of the tree here. And that's because the bottom side is the soul candles, and essentially is the power that you'll be getting from the mechanic that you can actually slot into your character, giving you additional stats. And also it's going to be sort of like a weird mechanic in that you can fuse candles together and get additional powers that way. Path out to the bottom here, and you want to be rushing the purple nodes, as the purple nodes will give you, unlocking extra candle slots and stuff like that. But then you really want to rush both the left and the right side of this tree. Forget going through the middle, as that won't give you really all that much, aside for the purple nodes, of course. But then you want to path to the left and the right side, because this will give you additional chances to essentially block modifiers that you don't want. So what you'll have noticed from doing the mechanic is that you drop the candles, and the candles will just give you a ton of random stuff on them, like random affixes that are essentially really hard to control, and it's very hard for you to get a candle that is actually good for your character. So if you take the right and the left path, and you path out to those 3 nodes that you see here at the bottom, this node here, that one, and that one, etc., you're going to then eventually get a chance to essentially block certain nodes that you don't want. So as you can see here from the text, it says nodes that are respectively used to control whether soul candles drop have the following type of affixes, right? So essentially what this will do, if you spec into it, it will block the physical lining affixes and so on and so forth. So you can see that these are like very specific modifiers like Warcry affixes. If you don't need these for your build, you know, you want to get rid of them because you really want to be getting good candles onto your character as soon as possible. It's going to be an immense amount of power. You know, it's not quite as much as the Slay of Divinity from last season. However, it's still going to be a huge power increase. And there are certain cool modifiers that you can fuse together, you know, T0 modifiers that essentially can modify your build in specific special ways, right? Which is a topic of its own altogether. But definitely these nodes are something that you want to get to as soon as possible so that you can control your drops, and then you can actually make use of this candle mechanic, as I think before you actually have these nodes, it's pretty impossible to get anything good on your character, because you'll just be dropping, like, you know, maybe you're playing a spells character and you get Demolisher affixes or multi-strikes, stuff like that, and there's so many candles that drop that you'll just clog up your inventory. So controlling the pool of modifiers that drop is extremely powerful, you know, and one insane thing about this as well that I forgot to mention previously, but speccing into these nodes, as you can see, does not cost any pages of Eterna at all. It costs 0. So once you get to these nodes here, you'll essentially be able to allocate 19 nodes. So a total of 19 nodes. So you won't be able to block everything, but you'll be able to block 19 modifiers that you don't want, or group of modifiers in some cases. So you'll have to kind of like decide whether, you know, some affixes that are still not good for your character. However, maybe you want to reroll into your next character or something like that. So maybe you want to drop dot affixes for a build or something, right? So yeah, you'll have to pick and choose which modifiers to block and which modifiers to keep dropping into your candles. Another thing to mention is that there are also global modifiers that cannot be modified. Like you cannot block them, and you can also not you have no control over whether they drop, and that's stuff like, you know, cooldown recovery rate or movement speed and whatnot. Like there are still a pool of modifiers that you cannot control that will always drop on slates, on candles, no matter what. So yeah, keep that in mind when you are, you know, blocking all these affixes and stuff. And that brings us into what you would do after you've specced into all of these nodes, and that would be that you have to put 1 point into each of, you know, the skill nodes on the tree, because once you do that, you unlock the center, and the center is the Infinite City of Aeterna. And the Infinite City of Aeterna will have a tier once it reaches level 84 and higher, and each tier will increase every time you clear the City of Aeterna at the current highest tier, increasing both the difficulty and the amount of rewards. So essentially, the way that you gotta see it is an ever-scaling mechanic. You unlock this, you complete a temple, and then you will get a chance to select the difficulty that you want to play that temple at. So imagine I am at difficulty 12, and I clear a temple at a certain appropriate level, right, 84. It will tell me, do you want to go to level 13? And that will increase your drop quantity by X%, or, you know, whatever else, right? So it'll increase the rewards in general. And of course you can say yes, or you could just go back to previous tiers where it's not quite as hard for your character. So essentially this is going to give you more agency over your rewards, and it's going to be able to sort of scale your rewards into endgame and give you more and more things to work towards and upgrade your character. And, you know, it's a really fun mechanic, and it's I think one of the best things about this season, that you can actually control your rewards. It rewards you for scaling your character power, and also there's a lot of agency in what you can spec into. But of course, as we previously mentioned, the nodes on the right are the things that you really want to focus in on, because the nodes on the top right will be the things that increase the reward room types. So getting more orange rooms, getting more purple rooms is going to be insane for the gains that you make in the map mechanic, and it's something that you really want to make sure that you're getting as many points in as possible. As you can see, that once that you've specced into one of each node here, you will have, you know, 5 nodes into this one. So, and then you put 3 into there, and then 3 into there. So essentially making it that every time a room rolls, it will give you a higher chance for that room to be of a more precious reward. But additionally, there are also nodes like for example, the one here, that will give you a percent chance increase for that reward to be upgraded. So once you get to the league mechanic, you will find that there are some chests, and those chests have a percent chance to be upgraded to, you know, precious or legendary tier. There will be a small chance. However, you can spec into those nodes to essentially give you a much higher chance to get those you know, elevated rewards. So yeah, make sure that you are speccing into those nodes next, and then you can kind of just put your things accordingly. Now, to talk a little bit about how you want to build your temple, this is going to be a little bit more depending on what, of course, reward rooms you get on there. But the rule of thumb is that you definitely want to start with the 6th tile, and then from there you want to connect up to the middle of the city. And once you get to the middle, you want to put the 6th tile there. And this is essentially going to make sure that you have as many connections as possible to all of the adjacent rooms. And then one from the start, of course, as well. You want to set yourself up to be able to branch out to all the other things. So anytime you set up a block, it's gonna reveal the adjacent rooms. You can see that here that we have not revealed these bottom 2 right rooms, and they will be revealed once you select, once you place something here and here. So in this scenario, we opted in for 6 nodes, but you can also go for 4s, and 4-piece tiles are going to essentially double the rewards that you land on. However, it makes it a lot harder for you to actually reach those rewards in many cases, as it is RNG on whether those blocks land. So you'll have to kind of plan it out. It's a cool little system of, min-maxing and a little bit of gambling, of course, as is, tradition in Torchlight Infinite, basically. Yeah, you want to be trying to build the temple as good as possible. And, if you're like kind of like a gambler, you probably end up with some very scuffed temples. So you definitely have some sort of self-control. But if there's one thing to take from this, is that you want to have a 6-piece in the bottom left and a 6-piece in the middle, and then the rest you can go, with as many 4 pieces as you want, because you will have 3 tiles to connect up to those rooms, so that it's not completely bricked by the end of it. So yeah, that pretty much sums up a little breakdown and a little tips and tricks of what I think you should look towards and work towards on the league mechanic this season. So I hope you guys have found this video helpful. And I hope this has explained some things, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.